Do you remember the first time you fell in love? I was 16 when I traveled abroad for the first time. It was sensory overload. The sights and sounds and smells and tastes were overwhelming, but in the most wonderful way. Ordinary things became extraordinary as I navigated a new culture and language. And in one short summer, an unrelenting passion was ignited, and I fell in love with the mystery and wonder of travel. That summer, I made the most important decision of my life. On a beach in Spain with my high school English teacher, both of us topless. One of those, ordinary aspects of a new culture that felt extraordinary. But it was on that day, on that beach, that I asked a single question that has informed all of my life choices and ultimately led to me becoming an entrepreneur. I asked my teacher, Miss Bishop, what could I do for a living that would allow me to travel for the rest of my life? She said simply, teach English as a second language. And so it was with laser focus that I took a straight path to teach English as a second language, the only career I thought that I would have. I got my degree in teaching certification, and then I accepted a job overseas. I landed a position teaching in Seoul, South Korea. It wasn't my first choice, but I figured I could save some money, then move on to my actual first choice, Brazil. So far, everything had gone according to plan. Life in Korea was great, and there were no foreseeable roadblocks. Until that night. Until that night, my plans took an unexpected and unwanted detour. After a night out with friends, I headed home, and on my way, 3 men passed me and said something to me in Korean I didn't understand. Then, unbeknownst to me, they circled back and confronted me as I approached my apartment. And I knew in that moment that their intent was to harm me. And in an ill-conceived attempt to defend myself, I threw the first punch, then proceeded to take quite a beating. I laid on the ground trying to protect my face from their kicks and punches, and miraculously, I remembered to scream for help in Korean, "살려주세요!" And they ran off, taking my valuables with them, leaving me on the ground, battered and bruised. And despite the recommendations of the U.S. Embassy and the pleas of my family, I remained in Korea for another 6 months to complete my contract. Going home might have been prudent, but I wanted to face this roadblock head on. So I fulfilled my contract, put Brazil on the back burner, and headed home. And what happened next was a series of curves, bends, and detours I took to pursue my passion. The first curve was figuring out how to have an international career while still living in the US. So I got a job teaching English stateside. It had its limitations, so I had to convert a part-time job into a career. So I took on new challenges, and I accepted roles and tasks that no one else wanted, and I made sure that people noticed. I specialized and made myself an expert, and then I shared that expertise with others. I mentored and created opportunities for others to advance. This strategy worked, and I quickly moved out of the classroom into leadership where I thrived. And over the next 10 years, I built an incredibly rewarding career where I was able to lead teams, I was able to work with people from around the world, and I even got to travel from time to time. It also introduced me to my husband. And after only 1 year of marriage, we moved to Canada for his job. And so I needed a new plan. So I set out to get my master's degree in leadership, and I thought I'd work for another 5 years and maybe start my own business. And Canada was amazing, but it was difficult, if not impossible, to get a job after graduation. Over a 9-month period, I sent out a record number of resumes, even for jobs I was overqualified for. It was rough. So I attended a conference, actually here in Albuquerque, to network and make new connections. And in that week, a spark was lit, and I followed the next bend down the road. I got back to Canada and knew my best and only option was to scrap the 5-year plan and start my leadership consulting business immediately. And in 1 week, I became an entrepreneur. And over the next 3 years, I had clients and contracts. My business was growing. So I want you to imagine the look on my face when my husband came home and said, "We have 90 days to relocate back to the U.S." We left Canada, and leaving Canada meant leaving my clients behind. And I found myself back here in Albuquerque, knowing I had to rebuild and rethink the way that I had been doing business. So I questioned everything and tried to identify what had been working, what wasn't, what was keeping my passion alive, and what was draining me of it. And when I was done, I had 3 answers. The first was that I knew my business needed to be mobile and location independent. I wanted to focus on helping people become better leaders, and I wanted those leaders, or those people, to be the next great generation of leaders, millennials. They are the group I inspire most, and most inspire me. So today I work with millennials across the globe, face-to-face and virtually, equipping them and the organizations they run to lead. It is the curves, bends, and detours that has gotten me to this point. It has not been a straight line. There is no single job, no single certification or degree, no single plan or opportunity. To live the life that I wanted, I used every opportunity, even the unwanted and unexpected. I could have given up. I could have chosen a simpler path, but I persevered, and I converted the unwanted and unexpected into opportunities to live my passion. So far, I've traveled to 25 countries. I've lived abroad for 6 years, and in 2012, I finally made it to Brazil. The road we take isn't always the one we planned. So use your passion to guide you. Accept alternate routes, follow the bends and curves, take the detours, and make your way through those roadblocks. Doing what you truly love to do may happen differently. It might evolve with time and opportunity. So never lose sight of your passion. Never forget your first love.